Julian, if there was one word that you could describe for 2020, what would it be?
One word to describe 2020. I would say just different. Different, you know. For me and a lot of other people, like hustlers find a way, you know. Like people figure out ways to continue, you know, making money or whatever they might have to do, you know. So things were not, and you have to know how to adapt to the circumstances that life throws at you. So I would just say different.
It was basically just last year, this time around, when everything was closing. During that time, what was going through your head as far as looking at how things may look like for the remainder of the year for the sport of boxing?
For me, my mind was just like I had to figure it out, you know, just figure it out. I don't understand, like, just from a personal standpoint, right? Like my boxers might not get a chance to fight, but me, I started an online course called Prize Fighter University, and I sold it, you know, and it did well. It did enough to, you know, keep the ball rolling until fights kept coming, came back. So yeah, like from a personal note, I didn't sit around, and with my pros, we found ways to train still, whether it was a park, parking lot, whatever it might be, we found a way to keep working. So no excuses, you know.
What's one of the things that you were talking to your boxers as far as them being mentally stable is knowing that unknown part? Like, what were you telling them, advising them during that time?
I just told them to keep, you know, keep sharp, you know, because when the world does come back, opportunities are gonna come flying, you know. There's gonna, like, cause you know, whenever something is down, it's gonna come back up, right? And when it comes back up, I wanted my guys to be ready, to be in shape. If we get calls like, hey, the world's coming back, there's a fight this date, you guys ready? Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. Like throughout the year, we had to fight in different countries, Ecuador, Mexico, all different places, and my guys stayed sharp throughout, you know. So.
Can you talk to me about those experiences, the fights going to Ecuador with Arno, the fights with Gilberto going to Texas, and also Scrappy? Can you talk to me about leading up to those fights, like how it was during the pandemic, like training and all that?
It was pretty normal. It was pretty regular. The only thing was like it was like, kind of hard to get sparring. You know, the gym had this gym. Thank you to Churchill Boxing in Peterburg. They opened their doors to us and let us prepare for camp here. But yeah, like it was difficult with like the capacity of people that could be in the gym. You know, sparring partners, etc. Like I said, like being like people being in shape to be able to box with us. You know what I mean? So I think the most challenging thing was probably that. You know, bubbles were no fun. You know, like going into bubbles, but I don't know, man. 2020 didn't affect me like it affected other people, honestly. I say that with no bullshit, you know, like fighters fight, you know, and fighting sports UFC never really left, you know. UFC was the first to come back and be like, you know what, they even got an island, you know. I had Marvin Vittori fighting all last year, and we won big fights. So, yeah, it didn't affect me like that. We figured it out.
There was a big unknown as far as what could happen for 2020, but then it was also like a pause for everything to look back as how we like treat our own selves with our lives, as far as like a reset. If you were to look at the sport of boxing, and if it was to have like a reset button, what's one of the things that you would love the sport of boxing to be if there was a great reset for the sport of boxing?
One champion in every division. No questions asked.
That's the top of the list? Nothing more?
One champion in every division, not like 6 or 7 where you don't know. I think that's kind of like, for me, you know, the number one thing that I think would get people more interested in actual boxing. And look, like, I'm not hating on the YouTubers, you know, they have just as much, like, they're in there fighting, you know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of people that are famous that wouldn't get in there and fight, you know what I'm saying? So that's not my quarrel, but the reason why these fights are so popular is because the best aren't fighting the best, you know? Like, I'd like to see one champion in every division. That'd be sick.
Do you think it's good or bad as far as having that type of individuals come to the sport, the social media influencers?
Okay, so if it's good or bad, like, it's not that one way. I think there's positives to it, like new eyes, and there's negatives to it where it's like, man, it's not fair. You know, like, it's not fair in a way where these fighters spend every single day of their lives training, like, for pennies and scraps, and these guys come out of nowhere and blah, 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 blah. You know, they come and take the huge pot, but look, life isn't fair. You know what I mean? Life isn't fair. It never is, you know? So, I mean, like I said, and this is no shot at anybody, but, like, if Mario Lopez wanted to fight Mark Wahlberg, that would be hundreds of $1 millions too. You know what I'm saying? In a professional bout, but they're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna go out there and risk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. I understand it. I understand the logic, but it does hurt the soul a bit in boxing because you're in here with these guys every day. But I'm not hating on it either. It's whatever.
When you say it kind of hurts the soul as far as the sport of boxing, what do you see as far as the consequences of that, of individuals being a part of the sport of boxing? Because I could look at it from an angle as far as, like, you could have new audience, right? And as far as you're driving that income with that revenue, but then what happens once they leave? As you see how much it hurts to see pay-per-view buys, like, what do you say to that as far as the new audience members coming in?
I mean, when they fight, they still have pro fighters on the card. It's still helping some pro fighters, you know? I mean, for me, like, the more boxing, the merrier. You know what I mean? Like, the more shows, the better. The more money in the sport, the better. But what I mean, I can't even really explain how it hurts the soul, but it just does, you know? I don't like, you know, I'm in here grinding with my guys, like, 7 days a week, like, all day, and, you know, everybody's, like, having a hard time, but everyone was having a hard time before the YouTubers got in here. You know what I mean? Like, ain't shit changed. You know what I mean? It's the same. So, I don't know. I don't let other people's stuff really, I try to not let it affect me because it's not within my control. Don't stress over stuff that's not within your control. They're gonna do it whether they care about, they're gonna do their thing, fight for millions of dollars, whether my opinion matters or not. You know what I mean? So I don't think twice about it too much.
Last question. How do you see the sport of boxing for this year?
The sport of boxing for this year, I think this year's gonna be cracking. Like, everybody's fighting each other. Every division is, like, looks like it's a prime to have real good fights. I think this is gonna be a really fun year of boxing.
Do you think that there'll be less marinating time?
Less airtime?
Marinating.
Oh, marinating time? Yeah, that circles back to, like, COVID affecting my guys. Like, I knew that, like, I don't know, but I feel like when it comes back full swing, it's coming back fast. I feel like everybody's gonna be hungry to get shows going, and I want my guys to be ready for that.